Hey there, high level listeners. Mark and I are back with another English vocabulary podcast episode. And this time we're focusing on the people who live in our neighborhood, our neighbors. Whether you're chatting with the couple next door, saying a quick hello to someone you see in passing, or getting to know newcomers in your area, we've got you covered. We'll share plenty of naturally spoken English phrases, vocabulary, and pronunciation tips in both American and British English.
Yes, that's right. Welcome to High Level Listening. This is our YouTube channel where we give you side-by-side American and British English to help boost your English speaking and listening skills too. My name's Mark and I'm the British voice here on High Level Listening.
And I'm Kat, your American English teacher. Today, we're sharing stories about our neighbors who live next door to us. I'll talk about my life in the suburban community in the United States, and Mark will share all about his neighbors in the UK.
Yes, that's right. Like always, in these episodes, we'll read through each of our own scripts. Kat's will be a more American version, and then mine will mostly be in British English. And after that, we'll go back to the start and we'll go through the best high-level words and phrases line by line. We'll explain the vocabulary in more detail and give you some more examples too.
And of course, to help you guys out, we've got subtitles at the bottom that you can read along with. And as you can see, we've got some British and American flags to help you note some differences between American and British English too.
If you'd like to take it a step further, though, we have PDF transcripts of this episode and all of our other episodes as well, so you can read and follow along offline. You can join us as a member if you click the link in the description below. And yes, you can shadow with us, read along with us, study it however you like at your own pace. So back to our main scripts. Kat will go first, and I will ask about her neighbours. What are your neighbours like?
So, my neighborhood itself has a really tight knit feel, and most of the neighbors are pretty approachable and easy to talk to. We've got a mix of longtime residents who have been here for years and years, and newcomers who are still settling in. So, there's a good balance. People are generally pretty neighborly. We exchange smiles, wave when we pass by, and say good morning when we're out walking the dog or grabbing the mail. Now, a few of my neighbors are really outgoing and love to host gatherings like barbecues or holiday parties, while others are a bit more reserved, but still courteous and always willing to lend a hand when someone needs help. We sometimes team up for things like yard sales or cleaning up after storms, and it's not unusual for someone to pop by to share baked goods or garden veggies. Even though we're not constantly in and out of each other's homes, there's definitely a sense of trust and community spirit that makes it feel welcoming and safe. It's the kind of neighborhood where you know you can count on people if you need them. All right. So this is basically my American suburbs, right? These are all the neighbors, the people that live near me. Okay. They might live up the road, they might live next door, but these are all the people. So we're mostly talking about people today. Now, one of the biggest differences is the spelling from neighbors to neighbors in the UK, but it's said exactly the same. Let's hear from Mark. Let me hear a bit about you, Mark. What are your neighbors like?
My neighbours are a friendly bunch. We've got quite a nice crowd on our street. There's a retired couple next door who are always pottering about in their garden, and they're incredibly neighbourly. They often stop for a quick natter or offer to take in parcels if we're out. A few doors down, there's a young family with two kids who are always riding their bikes up and down the road. It's nice to hear the sound of children playing. It keeps the street lively. I will say, though, we've also got a couple of busybodies who live directly opposite and like to keep tabs on what's happening. But to be honest, they're harmless and they usually mean well. Most of us make an effort to be polite and approachable, even if it's just waving hello when we spot each other. We even had a street party for the coronation last year, which was a lovely way to bring everyone together. Overall, it's a close-knit community, and it's comforting to know that there'll always be someone around who's willing to lend a hand if needed. Okay, so there you go. Kat's talked about her neighbours. I've talked about mine. We've seen our scripts side by side. Don't worry if you didn't catch everything. Again, you can get the PDF transcript to read along. But we'll go back to the start and go through them line by line. Again, we'll highlight some interesting vocabulary that you may not know, even if your English level is already pretty high. So, Kat, what are your neighbours like?
So, the neighborhood itself has a really tight knit feel, and most of the neighbors are pretty approachable and easy to talk to. Okay, so if you listen to our last vocabulary lesson, our last podcast episode, we basically talked about our homes and where we live, right? So, my neighborhood, the neighborhood itself has a really tight knit feel. If something is tight knit or tightly knit, that means that we are all quite close. All right. The people are close. So we're a tight knit bunch, meaning we're all very close. My family is very tight knit. My friends group is very tight knit. So that's TIGHT KNIT, tight knit. And if something has a really tight knit feel, you feel close to your neighbors, right? If your neighborhood has a tight knit feel, you are close and you can talk to your neighbors. You can say hi to them. Maybe you know their names, maybe you know their stories. You're very tight knit. And most of the neighbors are pretty approachable and easy to talk to. I really like this word approachable. I think that most Americans are quite approachable, meaning you can come up to them easily and ask them a question. I'm not sure if it's the way that we have our body language. We usually are quite open and we seem quite friendly, right? So if you have a question or if you have a problem, you can easily go up and approach them, right? Hi, sorry to bother you. I have a quick question. Yeah, what's up? What do you need? Some people are very approachable. And I think most of my neighbors are pretty approachable and easy to talk to. So you could easily use this as you're a very approachable person, you're very approachable, and you're easy to talk to. My neighbors are easy to talk to. That one's pretty easy. You can talk to them really easily. So my neighborhood itself has a really tight knit feel, and most of the neighbors are pretty approachable and easy to talk to. All right, Mark, what about you? What are your neighbors like? And maybe you want to mention the spelling difference between neighbors and neighbors.
Yes, so generally, my neighbours are a friendly bunch, and we've got quite a nice crowd on our streets. So, yes, generally speaking, friendly and nice. But there is some good vocabulary in there too. My neighbours are a friendly bunch. A bunch is a group. You might hear this more commonly with food, like a bunch of grapes, but a bunch of people is a group of people. And a friendly bunch. This is a nice, casual, friendly way to describe anyone. A nice bunch of friends, a nice bunch of colleagues, a big bunch of kids, something like that. It's a positive way. You might hear a lovely bunch, a bunch of friends. When I talk to my mum and she talks about her neighbours, she often says they're a friendly lot. A friendly lot. And a lot is another word for a group. So I could also say my neighbours are a friendly lot. And we've got quite a nice crowd on our street. The other word for a group of people is crowd. Crowd here sounds like at a big concert or a crowd of people at a busy train station, but I'm using crowd in a kind of joking way. A crowd can also be a big mix, lots of different kinds of people. There's a lot of variety in maybe their nationalities,
Oh, yeah.
age, gender, etc. So a nice crowd. There's lots of different kinds of people on our street too. And yeah, as Kat mentioned at the beginning, the spelling of neighbours in the UK is different. It's Neighbours. So in British English, we add the letter U, like colour, favourite, neighbour is in that group too. How do you spell it in the States?
LU, favorite, ORIT, neighbor, OR, and then color, OR. And there's no pronunciation change. Color, neighbor, favorite.
Okay, so back to your neighbours in America. What kinds of people are on your street?
Well, we've got a mix of longtime residents who have been here for years and years, and newcomers who are still settling in. So there's a good balance. I think that's kind of what you want on a street. You want some new people, some old people. And by old, I don't necessarily mean in age. I mean people who have lived there for a long time. So we've got a mix of long time residents. Long time residents. A resident is a person who lives there. And long time resident would be a resident who has lived there for a long time. So we've got a mix. We've got a mix of longtime residents who've been there for years and years and years for some of them, and newcomers. So a newcomer is a new person. All right. So a newcomer, a new person, you could use this as a new family that moved in down the street. They are newcomers and they are still settling in. Okay, so when you are settling, you're all mixed up, kind of things are a little crazy, and then you settle in. To settle in is to become more comfortable, to get comfortable over time. All right, so if you start a new job, things are a little bit crazy, and then after a week or two, you start to settle in. You start to settle in. So a lot of newcomers, if they've just moved house, wow, that's a big, big job, right? To move house. So they're still settling in. And so, yeah, there's a good balance. I think there's a pretty good balance down my street. Now, a balance, so it's not too stringent with lots of longtime residents and there's not too many new people. It's a good balance. All right. I quite like this next sentence from Mark because I feel like it has a lot of very British phrases in it. So tell us
Mm.
about some of your neighbors, Mark.
Right, yeah, get your flag ready. So
Ready.
there's so there's a retired couple next door who are always pottering about in their garden, and they're incredibly neighbourly. They often stop for a quick natter or offer to take in parcels if we're out. Right, so was that three?
I'd say three big ones. Three big ones. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, sure. Yes, we'll go through them. So I'm describing one set of neighbours. There's
Mhm.
a retired couple. They're retired, so they don't work anymore. I also imagine someone in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, because that's the retirement age. A retired couple. Next door. Next door. When we say this, we often blend this very quickly into one word. Next door. Oh, yeah, they live
Mhm.
next
Mhm.
door. I can hear them next door. And next door can be to the left of your house or to the right of your house. We don't specify which one. If you want to, you could say our next door neighbours on the left or
Mhm.
our
Mhm.
next door neighbours at 20 or our next door neighbours in 21 if their house has a number. But sometimes it's not important, or you already know which neighbour it is. So next door. Oh, yeah, they live next door. So there's this retired couple next door who are always pottering about in their garden. Right. Yeah, I thought that would trigger one.
Potter,
So if
Potter,
you,
Like Harry Potter,
uh,
pottering about.
yes, yeah, they're not flying around doing magic. Quite
No,
the
okay.
opposite. I think of an older person pottering around or pottering about means you're moving around the home quite quietly and slowly. If you're retired, you probably spend more time at home, so it's little tasks like doing some gardening, watering the flowers, sweeping the floors, tidying things up. It's doing these slow, simple little tasks, pottering about. This is quite like a cute way to talk about them. I think especially if they're a bit older, they just tend to
Mhm.
move a bit more slowly and shuffle around. So just pottering about, doing little
Mhm.
things around the house. So they're always pottering about in their garden and they're incredibly neighborly. So this is the adjective of neighbor. A good neighbor is neighborly. A
Mhm.
neighborly person is someone very helpful. They'll help their neighbors. They'll be friendly to their neighbors. And I think
Friendly,
they'll make an
neighborly. That makes
effort.
sense. Mhm.
Exactly right. I think they'll make an effort to get to know you. What do you do? Do you need help? You could even say, if someone is kind to you, you could say, "Oh, how neighborly of you. Thank you for collecting my package." The spelling, I think, is also British here. That's Bourly. So that changes in British English too. Some examples of how they are neighbourly. They often stop for a quick natter. A natter, that's another one. Yes, there it is.
Uh-huh.
A natter is a short conversation. A natter is a chat. It's a friendly, short chat. Say, "Oh, your garden looks very nice. Oh, thanks. I planted some new poppies." or you talk about the weather, or you just make small talk in a friendly way. A quick natter, you can have a natter, or if you're getting bored of it, okay, let's stop nattering. I have to go. And one final thing, another way that they're neighbourly is they take parcels if we're out. Yes, parcels. A parcel in the UK is a package. If you order something online or order something on Amazon, they will deliver a parcel and your item is in the parcel. There's even a delivery company called Parcel Force and they deliver parcels to your house. So maybe they knock on the door, you're not home, so they will take that to a neighbour and the neighbour will look after the parcel. When you return, they will say, hey, this came for you. Here's your parcel. Oh, thank you. How neighbourly of you.
Did want to mention some of the words that might be more American. Now, we do definitely say neighborly. We just spell it differently. So, how neighborly of you. So just the spelling is different. We don't actually use a different word. But when you're talking about pottering about, I kind of think of the phrase putzing around, but
Oh,
this
that's a
is
good one.
quite informal. This is quite informal, and I don't think it's as cute as pottering about. So putzing around, P-U-T-Z, this is a very informal phrase that means you're doing something, but you're not really doing anything at all. You know, you're kind of walking
Right.
around doing this, kind of walking around doing that, but you're not really doing anything. So you're just kind of putzing around. Oh, stop putzing around. Let's go. We have to go. Right. So that's very American, very informal. Okay. I would probably only use this with my friends if I was getting annoyed with them or myself if I'm not really doing anything important. The next one, a quick natter. I can't even say it in American English. A natter, a natter.
Yeah.
I would probably say a quick chat, a quick chat.
Yes, you could say that in England too, for sure.
And then take in the parcels. I would say if they grabbed one of my packages for me, a package or my mail. Mail can be
Oh, yeah.
letters and mail can be packages too. Grab my mail.
Okay, so back to your neighborhood and your neighbors. What do you do when you see each other?
So people are generally neighborly. We exchange smiles, wave when we pass by, and say good morning when we're out walking the dog or grabbing the mail. Now, I would say the only real time of day that we would say a greeting is probably in the morning. Good morning. We don't usually say good afternoon, and we don't usually say good evening. Good morning is the
That's
only
true.
one where we'll probably say something, right? Oh, morning. Hey, good morning. Hi, good morning. Hey, good morning. These are strangers in my neighborhood. I don't have to know them to say hello, right? So we exchange smiles. That means I smile and you smile. I smile, then you smile. You smile and then I smile. That means we exchange smiles. Sometimes we don't have to say anything. We wave. To wave is to put your hand back and forth to say hello. Wave when we pass by, and we say good morning. Hey, good morning. Hi, good morning. Hey, good morning. A hey and a hi is perfectly acceptable. If you want to say hello, good morning, that feels more official, more formal. So, hey, hi, good morning. Hi, good morning. Hey, good morning. When we're out walking the dog or grabbing the mail. Now, a lot of people have a mailbox out in front of their house. So people might be, people might be walking up and down the street and you go to your mailbox, you get the mail out. Sometimes the mail is in kind of a communal box where you would go just a little bit down the street. So it doesn't have to be every single house has a mailbox. What was so American about that, Mark? Grabbing the mail.
The word mail, grabbing the mail.
Mail.
We don't say that in England.
You
If you
don't say
receive
mail?
a
You
letter,
don't?
it's post.
Oh.
Letters that come to
Oh.
my house are
Mm.
post. Yep. So you
Okay.
have the postman and a post
Oh.
box where you put
Oh, yeah.
letters.
Mailman. Yeah.
Yep.
Mail
So, yep,
carrier.
sometimes,
Yes.
yeah, you hear the post coming through your letterbox. But yeah,
Like
we've had the
Postman
same
Pat.
postman, Pat. Yes, we've had the same postman for like 20 years, and he
Oh,
knows
no,
the
nice.
name of everyone in town. It's very nice. He's a very
Nice.
popular guy.
Excellent. All right. So, again, my people, my neighbors are generally neighborly. Who else lives on your street? You've got kind of a good mix there.
A few doors down, there's a young family with two kids who are always riding their bikes up and down the road. It's nice to hear the sound of children playing. It keeps the street lively. Okay, so a new phrase, where are your neighbors or which neighbors? A few doors down.
Mhm.
Again, the phrases here are not super specific. A few doors down could be two houses or three houses. It's not important because you probably know. A few doors down, it could be this direction or this direction. So they're not directly next to me. It's maybe a few doors down. You could say a few houses down. That would also
I'd
be
say that
fine.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, we tend to say doors. Yeah, the word door for neighbors is common. Next door, a few doors down, there's a young family with two kids who are always riding their bikes up and down the road. So, yeah, always doing something. They are always riding. They are always playing. This is the present continuous, and you can use this when someone's behavior or someone's activities are always the same. They're always doing it. You can use this in a positive way, like he's always sending me cakes and cookies that he made. Or you can use it negatively, like, oh, he's always playing music really loudly. So I think I'm using this in a positive way. They're always riding their bikes up and down the road because
We
it's
don't
nice.
we don't use this literally though. It's probably more like
Mm-hmm.
they often or they usually.
Yes,
So you
right.
can often find them doing this, but that feels a little formal. I know in some
Mm,
languages the word always means constantly, consistently, but we're just using
right.
it as kind of a general term.
Yes, true. They do go to school. They're not just always riding their bikes up and
Right.
down.
Never
Yeah,
stops,
yeah.
ceaseless.
They can't read or write. They just ride bikes. But yeah, it's nice to hear the sound of children playing. It keeps the street lively. It's lively. There's lots of energy and there's a happy, positive atmosphere on the street. If everyone on the street was a retired couple, it might be very quiet and very clean, but maybe a little bit boring, a little bit too quiet, strangely quiet. So it keeps the street lively. Okay, back to your neighborhood cat. Do you ever get together or spend time with your neighbors?
A few of my neighbors are really outgoing and love to host gatherings like barbecues or holiday parties, while others are a bit more reserved, but still courteous and always willing to lend a hand when someone needs help. So I think the one of the rules of living in the suburbs is you've got to try to put in a little effort in the community, right? So a few of my neighbors are really outgoing. I think Americans tend to be more outgoing than some of the world. If you are outgoing, you like to talk to people. You like to stop and have a chat. You like to invite them places. You like to go out with other people. They're really outgoing and love to host gatherings. So if you host something, you are the one organizing the party. Okay. It's your house. You invite people to your house. So they like to host gatherings. A gathering is when people get together. So you could host a get together, host a gathering. They like to host gatherings like barbecues or holiday parties. Now, barbecues, a barbecue is not just the grill that you use to cook the meat, but it's the name of the party as well. So we have barbecues, which means that we have a party where we usually will be outside cooking meat, cooking vegetables on the barbecue. So they love to host gatherings like barbecues or holiday parties. I can think of a really good one for the neighborhood would be the 4th of July. 4th of July is for everybody, it's not just for family. Christmas is usually just your close family, but then 4th of July, lots of neighborhood parties, time to get together. So we've kind of got two types here. A few are outgoing, while others, meaning my other neighbors, while others are more reserved. Okay. I would say in general, Americans are very outgoing. And even I would say for the most part, compared to British people are a little more reserved, meaning they're not as excited as Americans are. They're not as big and as outgoing. They're a little bit more reserved, but still courteous. Courteous is polite. All right. If you need help with something, they'll help you. But maybe they won't go out of their way to start a chat, or they won't go out of their way to host a party or anything. They're still courteous and always willing to lend a hand. When you lend a hand, or hey, do you need a hand? Meaning, I've got hands, they can help you. Okay. So if you lend a hand, that means it's kind of like you help them for a short period of time. Or, hey, need a hand? That means, do you need help? When someone needs help. So I'm willing to do something means that, okay, yeah, I'll help you if you need help. All right. So, Mark, any neighbors you don't get along with? I mean, that's pretty normal, I think.
I will say, though, we've also got a couple of busybodies who live directly opposite and like to keep tabs on what's happening. But to be honest, they're harmless and they usually mean well. Okay.
I can
Yes.
imagine them
So,
peeking over the fence or looking
uh,
through the blinds, right?
yeah, right through the curtains. Yeah,
Yes.
I've got some good vocabulary for these kinds of neighbors. We'll go through them. Yes. So the first two neighbors I've mentioned, the retired couple and the new family, great. Really like them. However, I will say though,
Good
if you
connector
have,
there. Yeah.
yes, it's a contrasting connector. I will say though means however, or that being said. So if you have two opposing views, she seems really nice. I will say though, her husband's not very polite. Or he's really lovely. I will say though, all he talks about is sports. So this is a very polite contrast to talk about
That was
someone
very
you
nice. That
still
was very
like.
nice.
Yes. So we've also got a couple of busybodies. Busybodies. So busybodies are people who spend a lot of time interested in other people, maybe more interested in other people than themselves. There's also nosy neighbors. Like Kat
Mm.
said, you can imagine someone peeking through the curtains. Their nose comes through first. Nosy. A
I never
nosy
thought about
neighbor.
that, but it's true. Yeah.
If you're nosy, then you're interested in what other people are doing. You're watching other people, even if it's in their house or they're in their garden and I'm looking over the fence. That's nosy. Like, don't stop watching. That's weird. That's private. Don't be nosy. So a pair of busybodies means there's two of them, or a couple of busybodies means there's two. There is another good phrase I like, curtain twitchers. Curtain
That's
twitchers is
British.
one of my
That
favorites.
one.
I love
Yeah.
that one.
Curtain
Yeah.
twitchers.
So you might be walking down the street and you feel like someone's watching you, and you look at a window and the curtain suddenly moves because they quickly closed the curtain to hide so they didn't get spotted. So curtain twitcher, nosy neighbor, busybodies, and a couple of busybodies live directly opposite. So we've got next door, a few doors down, directly opposite. So if my house, if there's a road down the middle and my house is on the left side, directly opposite would be on the right side. So our front doors are looking at each other, or our windows are facing each other. They live directly opposite, or they live in the house direct opposite. You might also say right across the street. Oh yeah, they
That's
live right
probably what I would
across the
say.
street. Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe sometimes I open my curtains and I see them in the window being busybodies.
Well, you're being
But
a busybody. Well,
I'm
you're
just
being
opening my
nosy.
curtains.
Well,
I know.
you're being nosy. Oh, I thought you were opening your
I know.
curtains to check out all the
So
busybodies.
just in the morning. My mum's a bit of a busybody, to be honest. She knows what's happening with her neighbours. She'll be like, "Oh, the guys who live opposite, they've got a new car." I'm like, "Okay, fine." Or you say, "Oh, I think he's got a new job because he comes home very late now." I'm like, that's being a
Oh,
bit of a busybody. Like, that's not
it's a
important.
bit. And it is a little bit different from being gossipy. I think gossipy is a little bit
Mm,
worse. You're always talking about people, but being a busybody is just kind of
mm,
interested. Although, Mark,
Mm.
would you agree that like busybody, being nosy, being a curtain twitcher, these are pretty negative words? I wouldn't probably say them to their face, right? I wouldn't say, oh,
Oh,
you're so
yeah.
nosy. I myself like to be a little nosy. Sometimes I think, oh, I'm so nosy sometimes. I really want to know what's going on.
True. Yes, I wouldn't call someone a busybody or call them a nosy neighbor. But yes, every street
No,
has
I
has
think they
got
know.
one. Yeah,
We all
they know.
know that we're a little nosy.
Mm, yeah. But to be honest, though, they're harmless. They're harmless. They're not really trying to cause problems. So they're harmless. Don't worry. And they usually mean well. It means they want to make sure everyone's okay. They're not doing it to be rude or upset you or annoy you. They think they are helping the community. They mean well. They have good intentions. So you could even say, I know you mean well, but we don't need any help. Thank you. Or like, I know you meant well in the past, but don't do that again, please. So if someone's trying to be nice, but you actually don't need it or want it, that's a good way to put them down. Anyway, back to your American community. Does it feel like you're in a community?
Yeah, we sometimes team up for things like yard sales or cleaning up after storms. That's really big where I'm from. And it's not unusual for someone to pop by to share baked goods or garden veggies or something like that. Okay, Mark, what did you think was so American about what I said?
Yard sales,
Oh, yard sales. Okay, garage
right?
sales, yard sales.
Okay. Yeah, I think I know what they are, where you want to sell stuff and you just put it in front of your house.
I think you call it a boot sale. You might call it a boot sale.
Right. A
Is that
boot
what you
sale is
call
when
it?
you go to like a field somewhere in the countryside
Okay.
and everyone brings their stuff
Our
and sells it from their car.
So when we have yard sales or garage sales, sometimes we have a neighborhood, like a whole neighborhood, a community yard sale. And it's basically, yes, where we put them in our front yard, all of these items we don't need anymore, or we put them in our garage. So a garage sale or a yard sale. It does not mean we are selling our garage. It does not mean we are selling our front yard. We're just selling the things we don't need anymore. Usually in a lot of big neighborhoods, everybody will get together and have a big yard sale once a year. That way you don't have to take all your boxes to the donation center and you can try to make a few bucks as well. So we sometimes team up. So when you team up, you make a team, right? You make a team, you team up for things like yard sales or cleaning up after storms. Now, this might not be common everywhere, but where I'm from in Houston, Texas, we get hurricanes and sometimes we get flooding and sometimes we get a lot of rain. So, if all of our neighbors get together, we can help out. If one house has some wind and it blew off the roof, maybe we can try to get together to help clean up together. And it's not unusual for someone to pop by or stop by to share some baked goods or garden veggies. There was this cute little old lady who used to live across the street from me, and she said, "Oh, I made too many cookies. Here, have some cookies." And I thought, "That's fantastic. Thank you."
How very
So
neighborly of you.
she would just come over, knock on the door. If we didn't answer, she would just leave the cookies with a little note. So it's not unusual for someone to pop by or stop by. This usually means that you visit very quickly to share baked goods like cookies and other things that you bake, baked goods, or garden veggies. I had another woman who was she had such a green thumb. She could grow just about anything. And in the summertime, she was like, I have about 50 watermelons. I cannot eat all these watermelons. Here's a couple. Do you please take some? So it's not unusual for people to stop by, knock quickly on the door, give you something, and then go.
If you 10 watermelons,
Yeah,
leave.
sure. Here's 42 watermelons. I
Thanks.
only need 8. I only need 8.
One of my mum's neighbors makes wine in his garden and he
Yeah.
brings it over. Yeah, he makes too many bottles, but I think
Well,
he
see,
does it on purpose. And
I
yeah, he
know.
comes over
That's
with 2
always
or
their
3 bottles
excuse,
of.
right? I made too many. I
Mhm.
made too much.
Oh no, yeah. Or another neighbor next door, she makes cakes, like wedding cakes and party cakes, and she
Ooh.
just practices And then she just gives them away to the neighbors, these
I,
like
I want
beautiful
her to be
cakes.
my neighbor. I want a neighbor like
I know,
that.
she's really lucky. Yeah. My neighbors, what are they usually like? In general, most of us make an effort to be polite and approachable, even if it's just waving hello when we spot each other. So this is similar to Kat's part earlier. Most of us make an effort. We try, even if it's cold, even if we're tired. When we see our neighbor, we will make an effort to be polite and approachable. Yes, if you need help or you have a question, you can ask us and we will answer. If you have something heavy in your garden, you want to drag it to the front, yes, we will help. We are approachable and polite that way. And even if it's just waving hello when we spot each other. If I spot my neighbor, I see them. Oh, by accident or by surprise. Maybe I open my front door to go to work, and exactly the same time, they open their front door, and we spot each other. Like, oh, I spotted Avis yesterday. Oh, yeah. Oh, I spotted Adrian the other day. So you can spot your neighbors because you don't plan to meet, but sometimes your schedules overlap and you see each other, you spot each other. So if you needed help in your community, do you think you could ask your neighbor for help?
Yeah, even though we're not constantly in and out of each other's homes, there's definitely a sense of trust and community spirit that makes it feel very welcoming and safe. So, even though we're not constantly in and out of each other's homes, constantly in and out means we're visiting all the time. I'm visiting your house, you're visiting my house. We are constantly in and out of each other's houses. But we don't do that, honestly. I wouldn't say that some of my neighbors are friends of mine, but they're my neighbors. This is like a special category of relationship, right? You spend some holidays together. You spend a couple of evenings, maybe an evening a month where you see some of your other neighbors, you chat outside for a little bit. Would I say we're the best of friends? No, but there's definitely a sense of trust and community spirit. Okay? We all want our neighborhood to be safe. We all want our neighborhood to feel comfortable, and we want the flowers to look nice, and we want to take care of each other, make sure nobody needs anything, right? So there is a sense of trust. Nobody's going to steal my things. If I forget my bike out front and I come back 10 minutes later and I think, oh, my bike out front. No, I trust that my neighbors are not going to steal my bike while I'm not looking, right? So there's a sense of trust and community spirit. That spirit is kind of that feeling of, yeah, we want everything to be good in our neighborhood. That makes it feel very welcoming. And of course, above all, we want it to feel safe. We don't want people stealing from us. We don't want people damaging our property. So it feels safe and very welcoming as well.
It's kind of a joke that's why you kind of want nosy neighbors because they make the neighborhood safe.
Yes,
Because if someone does steal
actually.
your bike,
They
a
know
granny was watching.
immediately.
Yeah, through
Uh-huh.
the curtains.
I
They're like, it
I
was him.
used to I used to have this older neighbor. He was so lovely and he's retired. So again, just like we were saying, he would just kind of putz around the house all day, but he was always out in his front yard. So nobody would ever want to steal anything because he would see you.
Well,
He
he
would
would
see you
see it.
immediately and he would tell you and he would say, "Hey, get out of there."
It's
So yeah,
better than
you,
CCTV. Yeah.
it's way better. It's way better because
Mhm.
someone is physically there, just kind of, gardening, doing a few things around the house. Yeah. Now, what about you, Mark? I know we kind of have, it's like a category of relationship, these neighbors. Do you spend much time with your neighbors?
We even had a street party for the
Oh,
coronation last year, which was a lovely way to bring everyone together.
Oh, wrong flag, wrong flag.
Wrong.
The,
Uh-huh.
the
Except for
coronation?
the
The
coronation.
coronation?
Yeah. So at the time of recording this last year, we had a new king, King Charles. And
Yes.
when they officially make him king, put the crown on, and he
Mhm.
becomes the king, that is the coronation. And this
Mhm.
is quite a common excuse for street parties. A street party is when you come outside and you put tables, chairs, snacks, and drinks in
Fun.
the road. Yeah, it's the coronation, I believe, was in the summertime, and that was on purpose. Royal weddings are also usually in sunny seasons because
Oh,
they
yeah.
expect street parties, and the spring and summer the only times you could do it in England without it being rainy and cold. But yeah, neighbors will often organize something and bring food, music, snacks, and they'll probably bring these little flags and connect them from one house across the street and connect them to the
Yes.
other house. So that's called bunting, a long
Yeah.
string of bunting. And yes, it's a great excuse for the neighbors to come out together and have some drinks, some food, and have a good time. Someone will also bring out a TV and have a long cable going back into the house so you can watch the coronation or watch the wedding or watch the event. But yes, we had a street party last year. Kat mentioned barbecues. That's a common one as well. If the weather is nice, people will have a barbecue and may invite a few neighbors over as well. All right, so last part of our script. What do you think about your neighborhood overall?
It's the kind of neighborhood where, you can count on people if you need them, right? So if I can count on somebody, if I count on you, then I depend on you. If I need help, I will go to you. And if I need something, I know that you'll be there for me. So it's the kind of neighborhood. So what kind of neighborhood is it? It's the kind of neighborhood where you can count on people if you need them. Yeah. So, all right. And in the end, Mark, what do you think about your community?
Overall, it's a close-knit community, and it's comforting to know there's always someone around who's willing to lend a hand if needed. So again, similar to yours, it's a close-knit community. We are very close-knit. A good example is maybe having a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group with all your neighbors in it so you can swap messages. Maybe if someone's going to the supermarket, they can say, does anyone need milk or tea bags? They will buy some and then give them to their neighbors when they return. That's a nice, close-knit community. We all know each other's names. And yes, always wish each other Merry Christmas or Happy New Year during big holidays. And it's comforting. It's nice to know that if there's problems, emergencies. Yes, my mum's neighbor, again, one of her cats was sick. Her neighbor drove it to the vet and did the appointment because my mum couldn't leave the house. That's a lovely thing to do. She lent a hand. And there's always someone willing to lend a hand if needed. So, yeah, I think it sounds like we both have very nice neighbors and a nice little community.
All right. So we've gone through tons of great vocabulary. Let's just do a quick recap of the words you learned from my script. Tight knit, approachable, easy to talk to, long-time residents, newcomers, settling in, neighborly, exchange smiles, wave, say good morning, outgoing, host gatherings, barbecues, holiday parties, reserved, courteous, lend a hand, team up, yard sales, cleaning up, pop by, stop by, baked goods, garden veggies, trust, community spirit, welcoming, safe, and someone I can count on.
Okay, and here's the key vocabulary from my script. Neighbors, a friendly bunch, a nice crowd, a retired couple, pottering about, neighborly, a quick natter, parcels, next door, a few doors down, directly opposite. I will say, though, busybodies, nosy neighbors, keep tabs on someone, mean well, make an effort, comforting, close-knit, and lend a hand.
All right, now it's time to practice what you learned. What are your neighbors like? Did you learn any new phrases in the video today? Let us know in the comments below. We read and reply to every single one.
Yes, please do. And as always, if you want to get the PDF transcript of this episode and all of our other ones as well, you can join us as a High Level Listening member by clicking in the link in the description below. They're very helpful. You can take them offline, study them in your own way. And don't forget to click like and subscribe to our channel as well, so you never miss either of the 2 videos we put out every single week.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time for another episode here on High Level Listening very soon. Bye, everybody.